ladies and gentlemen. This is ODOOM'S Forum, and as usual, this is Odoom Ebenezer, your host. I hope you really enjoyed the introductory video we did the other time. So, if you are new here, please subscribe and then click on the notification button and expect more content like what we are about to share with you today. So this will be the first edition, episode 1 of the Building Savings Lifestyle series on ODOOM'S Forum. We don't really want to be in a rush, okay? So today we're going to be talking about the meaning to the basic concept of savings and investment. We're also going to be looking at some terminologies around savings and investment. So we are going to begin with savings. So what is savings? The definition you know is right, okay? So savings is basically setting money aside for future use. Or someone will say, what's left after spending? Okay, spending from an income you receive. What is left is basically your savings. Now, investment. So what is investment? Yeah, so investment is also defined as a deliberate commitment of sums of money into a scheme with the expectation of earning a return. Okay, so unlike savings, with investment, when you commit the money or you set the money aside, you expect that you'll be paid the money you invested and also an additional money which is called interest. So when you are saving, you are basically not expecting anything from it. But the moment you choose to earn a return, earn an extra money on the money that you set aside, then you enter into investing. So that is it. Now, savings, it is savings and investment. So make money, save, invest. Mostly for a lot of us, we just want to wake up and then invest. We don't want to save, so we end up having issues. Yeah, so to be able to succeed in investing, one of the things that you should have is a lifestyle of saving. So you need to be someone who has the habit of saving money. Other than that, if you just venture into investment right away, you have issues. So that is it. Now, so it begins by making money, right? Defining your income, getting to know where your money is coming from and how much you are receiving, and also deciding on how much you should set aside. Now, after accumulating much in your savings, then you consider seeking to earn a return on the money you set aside. Then you get into investment. Let's look at some other terminologies around savings and investment. So you heard me mentioning interest, okay? So for interest, we have the normal interest, simple interest, you know. And then we also have compound interest. Now, simple interest is basically the interest you earn on the raw money you invest, okay? And then for compound interest is earning interest on the money you invest and also earning another interest on an earlier interest you earn. So for instance, you are investing for 2 years and then each year you are paid 10%. Now for simple interest, every year they will just calculate 10% of the raw money and then pay it to you. The second year they will pay it, they will do the same thing. Now for compound interest, first year they will calculate the 10%, but the second year they will calculate the 10% on the raw money and also 10% on the earlier interest you earn. So let's look at a typical example. You have 100 Ghana cedis and then you commit it to a scheme that pays you 10% per annum, like 10% yearly. So at the end of year 1, for simple interest, they will multiply 10% by 100, which is 10 cedis, and then you are paid. At the end of year 2, they will multiply 10% on the 100 again, and then you are paid 10 cedis. Now, for compound interest, at the end of the first year, you multiply 10% on your raw money, which is the 100 cedis, and then if you decide not to take that money out of it and then keep it in a scheme, for the second year, the 10% will be calculated on the 100 cedis as well as the 10 cedis you already earned in year 1. So the interest for year 2 this time will be 11 Ghana cedis. So compound interest is an interesting subject in investing. Now, another terminology I want us to look at is the risk, return, and liquidity factor in investing. So these are the 3 things you basically need to pay close attention to before you choose an investment scheme. So if you want to choose bonds, you consider these three things. If it is T-bills, if it is mutual funds, I mean whatever it is, whatever scheme it is, make sure you consider these three things. Now, risk is basically the possibility that the actual outcome from that investment will be different from what you expect to receive from the investment. So for instance, you expect to be paid 10% or 10 Ghana cedis in 100 cedis on 100 cedis investment. Now we are looking at, for risk, we are looking at the possibility that instead of receiving 10%, you'll be receiving 9 Ghana cedis, or the possibility that you'll be receiving 11 Ghana cedis instead of the 10 Ghana cedis, or the 10% you are supposed to earn on the 100 Ghana cedis. Now for return, we are looking at what you expect to earn from that investment, and then risk and return have positive relationship. So the higher the risk, the higher the return. So if you are committing money into an investment scheme, you have to look at the return and the risk. So if the return is high, then it is obvious that the risk is also high. That is it. So you have to accept a return that is in line, or that is enough for the risk you are taking. Now the last thing, which is liquidity. So liquidity is basically the ability for you to convert your investment to cash when they need be. So for instance, you commit sums of money into a scheme, and then at a point, well, you need some cash for something urgent. Is it possible that you can easily convert that money to that investment to cash? So that is liquidity. So when you invest in something that, well, converting the scheme to, the investment to cash becomes a problem, that means that you have a liquidity problem. So at all points, we say that, one, make sure that, well, what you are earning from the investment is reasonable. Two, make sure that the risk you are taking is in line with what you are earning from the investment. Three, make sure that, well, you always leave some level of liquidity, so that in times of emergency you can convert portion of your investment to cash. So these are the three things you need to consider when you are investing. I also want us to consider another terminology in investing. Now, time. So time is a very important factor in investment as well. Now we are looking at how long you can keep your money with the scheme. Okay, so for time periods, we have like short term. So if it's T-bills, we have the 91 days. T-bills is generally short term, but we have like the 91 days, which is like 3 months. We have the 182 days, which is like 6 months, and then we have 364 days, which is like 1 year. So are you looking at investing in the very short term or a long term, on a long term? Now for other schemes, you can go beyond 1 year. You can be investing in a scheme where you can only have your principal of investment, which is in the next 10 years, okay, which is the actual money you invest. Now that leads us to our next terminology, which is principal. So principal is basically the raw money, the actual money you commit to the investment scheme. Yeah, so that is it with principal. Now another terminology I want us to look at is inflation, actually an important subject in investing. Now for inflation, for me, I call it the invisible thief of wealth. Now inflation is basically a persistent rise in the general prices of goods and services over a period of time. So when inflation is high, it means that the value of your money, is getting affected. Now inflation is also another subject that you need to really consider. It's a terminology that, as someone who is interested in putting or setting aside money in a scheme that you expect a return, you should be paying attention to. Now when inflation is high and what you are earning from the investment is below the inflation rate, okay, what eventually will be that is that you basically lose portion of your money in terms of value. Yeah, so we've looked at savings, investment. We've also looked at the likes of interest. We've looked at simple interest and compound interest. We also looked at inflation, risk, return, and liquidity. Basically, these are some of the few terminologies around the concept of savings and investment. And this will be the end of episode 1 of Building Lifestyle of Savings and Investment series on ODOOM'S Forum. And we are happy that you stay with us through to this end. Kindly click on the subscription button if you are yet to subscribe, and also click on the notification button and wait for our next video.